All right, let's look at the homework 1.6, problem number 5. All right, so let's look at this function involving absolute value sign here. All right, so absolute value is a hidden piecewise defined function. So I'm going to write it as a piecewise defined function here. All right, so I'm going to separate it into when x is less than 8. So if x is less than 8, and then the other case would be when x is greater than 8, right? X equals 8 shouldn't be there because when x equals 8, the denominator becomes 0, so function is not defined. All right, so when x is less than 8, you can see that the 8 minus x is going to be positive quantity. So absolute value sign really doesn't do anything. So it's going to leave it as 8 minus x. And the denominator is still 8 minus x. Which means that they cancel out each other. And which gives you 1. Right? So a function is actually 1 there. Right? When x is greater than 8, right? So 8 minus x is going to be always negative. So what the absolute value sign does is negate that quantity, turn it into a positive of the same magnitude. So it's going to be negative times minus quantity 8 minus x. And then denominator is exactly the same, 8 minus x. So again, we can cancel 8 minus x on top and 8 minus x on the bottom, which leaves you with negative 1, right? So when x equals 8, this function is actually negative 1. All right, then if you sketch the picture, it's a very easy to sketch actually. So here's the x-axis, y-axis here, the origin. All right, so let's say this is 8 right here, right? Right, when x equals, when x is less than 8, the function value is always going to be 1. So let's say this is 1. So the graph is going to be always 1. So it's a constant function, right? Like that. And then skip 8, you cannot have any graph there. And after that, it's going to be negative 1. So you put the negative 1 right here. And so it's going to start from right here, 8. And then going to the right like that, straight to the right, right? So this is the graph of y equals f of x. All right, so we can answer these questions. So first question is, right, not this one, sorry, this one, right? All right, so it says describe the interval on which the function is continuous, right? You can see that the only discontinuity is at 8. Everywhere else is going to be okay. So we're going to put the from negative infinity to, you're going to go up right up to 8, but we're going to skip it. So we go to sets and then use a union sign here. And then 8 all the way to positive infinity. Right? So we got that. All right. So identify any discontinuity. So as I said before, only discontinuities is at the x equals 8. So we're going to put that in. So it's going to be x equals 8. Right? So if the function has any discontinuities, identify the condition of the continuity that are not satisfied. All right? So let's look at it. There's a discontinuity where f of c is not defined, right? So you can see when x equals 8, denominator becomes 0, so function is not defined. So first one actually, we need to check that. All right, there's a discontinuity at the x equals c where the limit is not equal to the actual value, right? So this actually is automatically violated. I have to actually be a little bit careful, but I would actually check this one because limit does not even exist there. So we have that. Right, there's a discontinuity at C where the limit does not exist. Right, so you can see that the left-hand limit is going to give you positive 1, and the right hand limit going to give you -1, so there's going to be there's no limit there, right? So we're going to put the here, so there is discontinuity, the limit does not exist, so not the last one, right? Let's check the answer. All right, I came back, and actually my last question is wrong, so I'm guessing. Right, this is up to interpretation, but I think I would check that one. But here, so I would actually uncheck this one, because some might think that since the reason why this is not equal to f of c is that it does not exist. So the reason is more on the the limit not existing. All right, so I think this would be the right answer, but I kind of disagree with the system, but anyway, I'll check it again. All right, I came back, and looks like we got the last part correctly. But to be honest, I would disagree with the decision by the system not to include this one, because since limit of this function does not exist, so it automatically they cannot be equal to each other. So I would check this one, but I think system wants to check just those two. All right, but anyway, that's it. I hope that this was clear.